to complain because YouTube is my catharsis on. I've been like complaining about manufacturers for so long here too, but I think it's about time we also complain about distributors, where it sucks being a little store. It sucks. So I talked about 151 on one of the last videos. Guys, it's a mess. I apologize for not being able to. I don't know how many I'm able to ship off because our amount of 151. Let me give you a little bit of perspective. I put in for tens of thousands of dollars worth of 151. I got about $2,000 coming worth of stuff. I think even less than that. It's actually coming from 151, and it's not going to be near enough to even put a dent in all the pre-orders I had. Now, some of it is on me because I haven't been the most on top of Pokemon. How it works with, especially like Pokemon, or this is the nightmare one, is Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, is sometimes you have to do pre-orders insanely far in advance before you know anything about the set, before you know anything about what's going to be in it, and really don't even know, like, you don't have even like product pictures. So 151 went on pre-order. Typically how it's worked for Pokemon is distributors have just given me a big allocation of stuff, and then it's usually bigger than what patrons put in for, or what local orders put in for, and then I just allocate, and everyone seems to be okay with it because there's plenty to go around. With 151, it seems like distributors, at least the ones that I used, a couple of them just flat out cut me. So I didn't get any 151 from them for this one. I did reach out to them, and they basically told me, okay, you need to be doing more orders with us because we are not set up as your main distributor. We have, when you pick distribution with particular manufacturers, so like Lorcana, we had to pick a distributor, which is really upsetting me because they cut me wave 2 when they are my authorized distributor. So now I'm going to have to reach out to Lorcana and say we don't want to do business with this distributor because if we're not getting a second allocation with them, then why'd we choose them? Because typically how it works with manufacturers is you like they send a certain amount of products to distributors based upon how many stores have signed up as their primary distributor. So that's why with Magic the Gathering, distributors usually compete heavily for stores because they know, especially small stores, they love small stores because they know that small stores probably aren't going to take out all of their allocation. So then they can actually sell it to the non-WPNs or some of the other stores to give them even more than what they wanted to put in for. So, I'm very puzzled with Lorcana of why we got completely cut wave 2, got a whopping 0 with wave 2. And then with 151, where it's finally a Pokemon set that sells, and the distributor nowhere to be found, not answering emails, not really like giving me a straight answer of why, I didn't get anything of what I put in for. And the caveat on top of that is there's a particular distributor, not going to name names, that now I have this massive back order with allocations I got cut from 151 that could show up in 6 months. I think we had some Shining Fates show up a year later that was pre-ordered. Then they expect us to take our Shining, and Shining Fates is a set that absolutely tanked. It went down to nothing. It was like considered one of the worst sets ever as far as specialty sets for Pokemon. And then the distributor's like, well, if you don't want them, then we'll charge you a 20% restocking fee. So they hamstring you. And not all distributors are this terrible. There are a couple of them that are just absolutely. I think a particular distributor that we've been doing business with, and it's not been high numbers, but at least a couple grand a month with them because I use them as kind of backup, still doesn't know my name, even though we talk weekly. And still doesn't, oh, who's this? What store are you? I'm like, oh, God. So anyway, that's a little bit frustrated now. So if you are wanting to start a local game store, if you want to do, this is even more reason just to be a, basement seller and get sort of deals with like non-distribution to get your products. I'm still frustrated with Amazon and TCG Player selling Pokemon for way cheaper than I can get it for. The last 3 sets are, if I want to get it from distributors, it's a much higher price than what I could be getting it off of, the secondary market at this point. So it's a lot easier at that point just to make these. I've watched a few Pokemon channels where they just have direct contacts with, these larger stores that are like like the Dave and Adams type stuff. They will just sell them directly for a big discounted, or even that. I know a few of them either has like overseas contacts where it's just easier for them and they get product quicker. They've already have their 151. They've had it for weeks because they're ordering from places in Korea or Japan or something like that. So it's just a nightmare. Like the stores that I think that are trying to do it legitly, I know watching a few other YouTube stores channels that are ticked off right now because 151's already on the market. It doesn't even release until Friday, so stores aren't supposed to be putting it on, but now consumers already have it in their hands. There's YouTube videos galore of people having it, and it just seems like for me that's been trying to pick up all this excess goddamn Pokemon product. I'm sick of like when distributors like, hey, can you do me a solid and pick this up, or we have these allocated for you. Will you take them? And I do, and just so I try to raise the numbers, and this is kind of how I get treated in the end. So again, it's such a dog eat dog world right now in this industry. The distributors, right, are really looking out for themselves, and they probably have to. I can't even imagine their losses that they've had with just crappy, because distributors are the same thing as stores. I would say I get all these comments like my favorite comment. This is by far my favorite comment on YouTube. Why don't you sell snacks? like we could somehow be a convenience store and somehow live on snack sales. Every customer of mine would have diabetes times 1,000 if they were able to cover my overhead and just the cost of me doing business here by snacks. And there's not saying that we probably could do better with selling snacks, but it's just something that's not feasible. The big breadwinners for stores that have subsidized all of the other hobbies, everything exists. Board games are the way they are now, and some of these other minor games and accessories and stuff, they owe everything to Magic and Pokemon. And I'm thinking distributors in the same boat. When their Pokemon and Magic sales are super low and they get stuck with stuff, then they have to turn into this like survival mode and dog eat dog. And I think that's what they're doing, is making sure that they keep their big stores that keep them in business happy. And people like me that just do a lot less business end up getting kind of the shaft on it. So again, I highly apologize. There are some things that I did improperly. I should have been a little more on top of like pre-order like window dates, because you can get, sometimes with distributors you can guarantee at least getting something if they're, if you put it in super early. But like I said, with that, especially with Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh, oftentimes that's 3 months in advance. That's like immediately when the set is released, the name is released, you have to order it and be like, and you have to know your numbers. And so how I do is I have to, wait weeks and weeks to collect numbers of trying to get people, okay, what exactly do you want? And then I put in. So one of the problems I had with this particular Pokemon pre-order is I've been screwed in the past with either, like this is what happens with a lot of times on the Patreon, is people will get the wrong idea of how it works. They'll sign up, they'll order stuff, and then they'll quit. And then by the time I get their orders, I don't have a way to really, reach out to this person to buy their stuff. And typically that's how I like to do it, is to make sure that I collect money before I order. That way I don't get stuck with just avalanches of products and stuff. And last time I did try to change to actually have, inventory available for people to purchase. Then you get hit with these Obsidian Flames and Paldea Evolved and these sets that just go for less after a few weeks on TCG Player. Or the biggest ones where I lost tens of thousands of dollars on things like Commander Masters, Baldur's Gates. There's been just some stinkers. Like New Capenna was awful because I over-ordered, and then there just wasn't any orders. And then 2 weeks later, distributors are blowing it out for less than I bought it for. And it's just a mess. So anyway, I just want to address that with 151. I do want to do better on my end of being more up to being able to get stuff in communication, absolute communication. I realize that I probably have to be, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That I need to be yelling at distributors and just like really in their face about stuff. And that's something I really haven't done. I've been kind of a no conflict kind of pushover with them. And that needs to change with me. Anyway, got some One Piece in, which is speaking about distribution as well, which is hilarious that I got cut on some of this One Piece. So they sent me the 42 buy a box promos is what I'm assuming these are for, but only 30 things to give them out with. So it's like, okay, whatever. So we do have One Piece going out. So if you did put in for One Piece, I think that most people are going to be able to get their submissions for One Piece. This is an absolutely hot game. Apparently the Netflix series is really adding to even more demand for this sucker. It does seem like they are getting a hold of their supply issues, though. The company is starting to release more. A lot of the older sets are starting to trickle in, and there have been some announcements for reprints for the first and second set that should start trickling in. And they're doing it right, too. I think One Piece has been just slowly trickling things in as needed rather than doing these massive waves. And I actually think that that's a good strategy with even Lorcana going forward, because it's this really like tightrope you have to walk with how manufacturers get their product out to distribution and to stores. So they can't just be doing what Magic does and just massively printing stuff and then be like, well, if it doesn't sell, we'll fire sell it off on some bundle package or whatever. Because eventually they don't have the wiggle room. They don't have the 30 years of brand recognition that Wizards does to kind of play these shenanigans. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. If you are a store and have any other suggestions for me of how I can get my Pokemon numbers up without being an absolute, and again, maybe I just need to be a kind of a jerk, as Buttons is trying to jump up on Zach. He's like, no, done with this video. We're done with Kevin ranting.
Do you want to go? Are you hungry?
Is it about 5 o'clock, huh?
You want to go play?
These idiots are so trained that they know when 5:30 comes around that it's time for a walk. So they're going to start whining.
What do you want, Bruce?
And this guy right here, he's Mr. Observant. I don't think he has a unique behavior on himself. He's just picked up behaviors from every other dog and starts incorporating them. And so now his latest thing is he's learned how to whine from Bruce. And so now they start whining at me. So now I have to deal with a whiner dog. I didn't sign up for that, Mr. Buttons. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Again, I try to be, I want to get back to more of the positive comment. I do appreciate everyone that did watch my long video yesterday. I'll do more of that type of stuff, more like bring the personality of me and Zach more into the forefront rather than us just being another soulless entity that is on YouTube selling Magic cards and whatnot. So again, appreciate everyone that's been around. I'll do my best in the future sorry to disappoint for 151. My hands are tied. I just don't know what to do at this point on how to allocate it, or someone's going to be mad somewhere. And again, we need some for the store as well, which is super, super low. Like the amount of 151 was dismal compared, like 10%. What I got for Obsidian Flames. And I didn't even put in that much for Obsidian Flames because no one wanted it. So it's rough. I am expecting that 151 will probably have some trickle restocks. They printed the crap out of Champions Path and Celebrations, and all that stuff seemed to be more available after a few weeks. So I'd warn people about going all in on 151. Pokemon is just like Magic. They haven't been able to really get a handle on post-pandemic numbers. And so they're still, like, I think what Pokemon is trying to do, hey, Button, stop.